I wanted to talk about some of the changing paradigms of curriculum development. I must acknowledge there are few schools who are already working on progressive curriculum, but I just wanted to talk about some of the benefits of developing curriculum thoroughly and re-innovating curriculum. One of the main points is that if we do reinvent curriculum, it helps to shift the focus from being subject-centric to being more learner-centric. For example, in a lower KG EVS curriculum, in a syllabus, you might have a chapter on, let's say, good manners and good habits. Now, the teacher must know that this is not just 2 pages of a textbook that she needs to get through, but it's actually what she needs to develop in the child that is more important. Secondly, if we go ahead, like Gauriji also mentioned, we need to think about higher order thinking skills for each and every topic, each and every subject of the curriculum. For example, in a class 1 science subjects, EVS subject of plants, it's important to go away from just saying we need to teach the child about types of plant, to also say that the child should be able to recognize the different types of plants, identify various plants in his own surroundings, and be able to find out what is the difference between these types of plants. Now, it's definitely possible that an excellent teacher is doing all these things already. But for the average teacher or the ordinary teacher, we must ensure that the same standardization of learning is happening across the grade. So a curriculum which is developed will help in this kind of standardization. It will give teachers a sort of superstructure of expectations to work with. Also, we must focus on framing age-appropriate goals for the classes. Curriculum should not be limited to what's in the syllabus and what's in the textbook. For example, your English curriculum of, let's say, lower KG should also speak about speaking and listening skills. Every teacher must focus on these things as well. Another important point is information management across grades. This might seem like something very obvious, but surprisingly, it's not being done in a lot of good schools even, where we actually map the entire curriculum subject by subject, topic by topic, across all grades, right from lower kindergarten to the higher levels of education. I want to talk very briefly about assessments also. Everybody knows about formative and summative assessments. But one of the main things I wanted to talk about was formative assessments. We know that the purpose is to inform the process of education, and it happens during the process of education to help teachers guide the way they transform the teaching. But one of the main things that I wanted to mention was that it's very important for formative assessment to give feedback to students as well, because there's a lot of research which suggests that giving feedback to students is very directly correlated to their performance. The more feedback we give, the better the student's achievement is. Also, that feedback should be quite frequent, and also the quality of feedback. It is not enough to say to a student that you're doing good, but to explain how their task is going, if the process that they're using for their task is how that's going, and how they are managing their behavior in terms of the task. Now, regarding summative assessments, I just wanted to talk a little bit very briefly about the final assessment that we have at the end of the year. And our state boards and national boards give some sort of guidelines on how this 100-point exam should be broken up, what should be the breakup. But we find that this is actually related not necessarily to the learning levels that we have been defined, but possibly to the content or the type of questions that are being asked. And I just wanted to think about how we are using this in the lower grades, where the board is not defining exactly how we should be breaking up our 100-point exam. So our teachers individually deciding how the different sections of their exam are being broken up and what that means in terms of student assessment. So just an example, if you have, for example, a question paper that is set by a teacher which has 3 sections, and section A is 10 multiple choice questions which are factual in nature, which are testing the factual knowledge of the child, and you have section B which has 4 short constructed responses which are testing a little higher level of thinking of the child and asking him to give generalizations of the knowledge taught. And section C has 2 short constructed responses where we are testing even higher level of thinking of the child, and we are asking him to make inferences from what has been taught. Now, I would just like you to think about how you would assign percentage to the different sections of this question paper. In a seminar where teachers were asked this question, we got a range of responses from, as you can see here, and a student who's actually answered section A 100% correctly, and answered section B with 50% accuracy, and answered section C with 0% accuracy would get anything from 30 marks to 80 marks. So it's just something that we need to think about, and we need to look at other options of testing children where there is a greater accuracy and there is a testing of the different levels of thinking. So I just wanted to leave you with some points to ponder about where we are with our curriculum, where we can be, where we should be moving forward. There are lots of new ideas, progressive ideas, and how we can be moving forward given the current realities of our school system. Thank you.